digital cage: how social media and smartphones are stealing our children's future. Watching to the end could save you, or even better, your child's life. Our children are the canaries in the cage, testing the uncharted dangers of social media. But what happens when the air turns toxic? What happens when the very tools designed to connect us begin to destroy the most vulnerable among us? This isn't just a hypothetical question, it's an urgent reality we all must face. It's not just society at stake, it's your child, your family, their future. The question is simple: will we act before it's too late? In just a decade, the landscape of childhood has shifted in ways we could never have anticipated. Laughter on playgrounds has been replaced with silent scrolling. Eye contact with parents is now a rare occurrence, as faces remain buried in screens. And the consequences? They're staggering. Rates of anxiety, depression, and even suicide among children and teens have skyrocketed, directly paralleling the rise of social media. Let this sink in. Between 2008 and 2017, serious psychological distress among young adults rose from 7.7% to 13.1%, a devastating 71% increase. During that same period, adolescents experiencing suicidal thoughts or related outcomes increased by 47%. And by 2024, over 3.4 million youth, 13.16%, reported having serious thoughts of suicide. These aren't just numbers, they're cries for help. The connection is clear. Social media, designed for connection, has instead become a tool of isolation. These platforms are not neutral. They are meticulously engineered to capture attention, to create dependency, to manipulate emotions. Every like, every scroll, every notification is a carefully designed trap, preying on the vulnerabilities of a developing mind. As Columbia Psychiatry warns, heavy social media use is linked to increased risks of depression, anxiety, loneliness, and even suicidal ideation. And it doesn't stop there. These effects transcend borders, affecting children globally. The digital cage has no boundaries. The U.S. Surgeon General has issued a dire warning: social media, once a tool for connection, is now a silent predator, quietly eroding the mental health of an entire generation. Over 95% of teenagers use social media, and more than a third are online almost constantly. The Surgeon General compares its risks to smoking, a comparison that should send shivers down our spines. Imagine a technology so ingrained in our lives that its consequences could last a lifetime. But the problem isn't just excessive screen time, it's the very architecture of these platforms. These systems are designed to keep users scrolling, consuming, and engaging for as long as possible. The longer they stay, the more profit they generate. But at what cost? The Surgeon General calls this an urgent crisis, a wake-up call for parents, policymakers, and society at large. And yet, this isn't just about statistics or studies. It's about the faces behind those numbers. It's about your child, their friends, their classmates. Each statistic is a story of heartbreak, of loss, of futures stolen too soon. The canaries in the cage are singing their warning. Will we listen? Or will we allow this silent crisis to continue unchecked? Here's something they never told you, but it's been right in front of us all along. Hidden deep within the manuals of major smartphone brands like Apple, Samsung, and Google, there's a startling warning: keep this device at least an inch away from your body. Why? Because prolonged exposure, especially for children, could pose significant risks to their developing brains. Risks we've ignored for far too long. If the very creators of these devices issue such warnings, shouldn't we? Shouldn't we reconsider how these tools are used in our homes, in our children's hands, every single day? The devices we trust to educate, entertain, and connect may be silently harming the very people we love most. But this is not the end of the story. The cage is not unbreakable. Together, we can take action. We can set boundaries. We can encourage real-world connections. We can foster environments where our children can thrive, outside the confines of a glowing screen. So, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you turn away, or will you take action? The choice is ours. The air may be toxic now, but the cage is not unbreakable. Our children are the future. They need us to protect them, to guide them, to free them from this digital trap. Watching to the end of this story isn't just the end of a video, it's the start of a movement. Together, we can ensure they don't just survive, but thrive. Together, we can save their future. Our children are the canaries in the cage, bravely testing the uncharted dangers of social media and smartphone dependency. In just a decade, the mental health of our youth has entered a crisis. 71% increase in psychological distress among teens. 47% rise in suicidal thoughts and outcomes. 3.4 million young lives gripped by serious thoughts of suicide. This isn't a coincidence. The platforms designed for connection are isolating, manipulating, and devastating the most vulnerable among us. Each endless scroll, each notification ping, is eroding their mental health and self-worth. But there's hope. Hidden deep in the manuals of devices we trust, Apple, Samsung, Google, lies a chilling truth: warnings to keep phones an inch away from our bodies. This isn't just advice, it's a wake-up call. The creators of these tools knew the risks. Now, so do we. Yes, we utilize AI, of course. But what you see for a second takes us many trials and tribulations, so the only reward we hope to expect is a like, a comment, a share. Please subscribe. Most of all, thank you and big hugs.